normally on a conference call line. And I believe Angela and I have already did an audio test, so we should be good to go. We were going to wait one more second and to make sure everybody gets on, but we have people are starting to grow in numbers. As you can see, more and more folks are joining us. So I want to make sure that people get on and can start when we start. We have an exciting session today on parental engagement and on looking at the family's value and their importance as we try to push forward our YCC program in each of our schools, and to make sure that parents are aware of what's going on with their students and to keep them posted and looking at those ways. So I'm going to get started. Again, this is Maisha Memager from the National Office. If you have any questions as we're going forward in our training, please make sure to use the question and answer section to type those in. We look forward to hearing from you all, and we want to take an opportunity to use our polling. Hopefully we will use it well. We're learning how to use some of these tools here, polling questions we have. We want to also hear from you all on your experience with parent engagement. All of you work in schools, and you guys are the experts on parent engagement, and we look forward to learning from you all as well as you learning from each other. So let's take this time to not just do a training on parental engagement, but also to look at what each other is doing in that success. So everybody pretty much knows me. I'm Maisha. Good to see everybody. We have a small group today. It's great to have almost 40 people on, and I'm excited to get started. I'll be moderating today's session. We have Annette Gatt with us, who will be doing some, who's our subject matter expert, and we have Patty, one of our grantees that will be presenting a little bit later. So let's just kind of get the background and the format of what we're going to be talking about today. And again, parents are so important to this program. For many of us here at Labor, we tend to, at our office, we work with youth that have challenges to employment and life challenges. A lot of our young people that we work with here are somewhat disengaged from parental authority, and they have challenges, and some of them are in the foster care system. And so what we want to always emphasize when it's possible that our young people have family members that back them up and can support them and know where they are, the grandmas, the aunties, and the uncles. And it's great to be working with the school system where we know all of our students are in-school youth, and we know that at least one or two people in their lives are helping them out get through college or get through high school, get through their classes, support them. And it's exciting to be working on this end where parents are engaged with their young person's learning. Or we're using the word parent, and we'll talk about the definition of what we mean by a parent, because we'll interchangeably use the word parent and family. We definitely want to make sure that they are informed about what's going on, and we want to learn how that looks. What are some of the challenges of serving our parents, making sure they're aware of how our students are doing in this program, and what can we learn from you all as we try to push forward at all of our other kind of our programs here at the National Office. Do you have a plan? How does that plan look? I mean, what are you doing to engage parents? What tools are you using to engage parents? Is it text messaging? Is it email? So we're going to talk about all those kind of tools you can use. And we're also going to look at, share with each other what we're using to engage our parents and talk about those challenges to engaging parents. We'll have introductions. I'll do that shortly. I'm talking about guidelines, parent meetings, communication with parents, obstacles. Again, trying to engage young parents and their students. Looking at creating parent networks and resources. How does that look? And then, of course, we have Patty with us, our colleague from Bradley County in Tennessee. And then we'll share some resources with you all regarding parental and family engagement that you all can use to, again, increase and improve your services in the YCC program. So what do we mean by parents? Now, parents is we always think about the biological parent or parents that had us, but we know in this world we have mixed and blended families. We have children who are taken care of by their grandparents. We have young people who are being raised by their brothers or sisters and their aunts. And what we did use in the title of this was parent and family engagement. We are talking about the people that help support our young people outside of the classroom, outside of the school, and they could be a number of people, it could be one person, and we want to make sure that when we use the word parents, we're just not solely talking about, again, the biological parent. We're talking about that network, that village in our young person's lives. And a lot of times when we talk about parents, it's not just one person. It tends to be that village where grandma may want to know about what's going on, or, mom can forward a newsletter to somebody else to let them know how the student is doing, what's going on in the program. So again, it's a caring adult who is helping raise or raising that young person and has legal guardianship, and sometimes they don't have legal guardianship, but we want to make sure we talk about legal guardianship when we talk about forms that need to be signed or the proper forms that need to be signed, but they're part of the young person's life and they're important to their development. So when we use the word parent, we're talking about all those great people in our young people's lives. So what I want to do at this time is turn it over to Annette Gantt. Now, Annette was with us during our conference over the summer. She sat in on the wonderful session that we had Puerto Rico present on their parental family person and how we talked about that with our colleagues here at the Office of Disability and Employment Policy. And how do we engage parents? We had a really fruitful and wonderful conversation during our session. She took a lot of good notes. She didn't say anything, but she took all those wonderful notes, all that great feedback that you all shared during that session, and she's putting together a wonderful tool for us, and she just wants to share with you some of the things that she found during that session and some of the things that she has found about parental engagement. She's using some of the DOL resources as well as resources that she has worked on. So we're excited to hear from Annette, and I'm going to turn it back over to Annette. So go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, YCC grantees. I'm very excited to provide some information that hopefully can reinforce or enhance what you're already doing to partner with your parents and engage them more fully or consistently. Also looking forward to listening and learning from each of you about what you're already doing to engage parents. And before I get started, I'm just going to share take a few minutes to share a little bit about my background. I've spent over 20 years in nonprofit management where I focus heavily on organizational development or expansion in program development as well. I've been in business as a management consultant for a short 2 years now, where I've had this opportunity to work with DOL, not only on the YCC initiative, but also with the Ready to Work initiative as a subject matter expert and technical assistant coach. I'm also currently teaching as an adjunct professor at the University of Maryland University College, where I teach management and organization theory. So with that, without any further ado, I'll just jump right into what we're going to cover today. And please feel free to ask questions and type your comments in as we go along, because we do want this to be very interactive. So let's start with parent engagement guidelines. You may already have them, but the purpose of guidelines is to outline parent participation and expectations, including if you have any guidelines for attending different meetings throughout the year. During these guidelines also can include dates for your parent meetings and any other special events among other topics. Some of the sample content that you can include in your guidelines could be the schedule of your meetings, either bi-monthly or quarterly, your expectations for parents around their level of participation. For example, if you expect them to attend 75, 80, or 90% of the meetings that you plan. And it also can solicit leadership or parent champions to co-lead the meeting. Team members. It's also important as you establish your guidelines to give parents examples of how to meet all of your expectations that you write into your guidelines. And also highlight what the benefits are. Remind them of the benefits, why they're participating and why their student is participating as well. And it's always nice if you have the means and resources to provide incentives and rewards for success. So for parents who are consistent there, who are heavily involved, provide some recognition and rewards. And you can choose what those could be. So here's our first polling question. Does your program already have guidelines in place? Yes or no? And of those of you who have guidelines in place, do they include participation and attendance expectations? So while you take a moment to answer the polling questions, I'm going to continue to talk. You may already be aware that most of your school districts have a parent engagement or involvement policy that you may be able to adapt, reference, or enhance to fit your YCC program. It is also a good idea to involve parents when you're creating the guidelines. If you already have them, you could also involve your parents in modifying them for the following year. And by doing so, it helps to make sure that the guidelines are parent-centric. In addition to some of the topics you can include, there also should be mutual responsibilities or commitment that's made by staff and parents. It should be a clear section with these mutual responsibilities. And these guidelines also could be reviewed on an annual basis by a group that includes parents, maybe students even, as well as your program staff, and to have it as a part of an annual adoption and execution process. Some of the examples, as you can see from the slides, that of the mutual responsibilities or commitments that YCC program staff could provide to parents can include providing parents with timely information about program expectations, any participation criteria, again, the benefits and success indicators for the program, providing timely information about school district programs and resources so that they are in their hands in a timely way that they can benefit and take advantage of those resources or types of information. Also, a commitment to receive all the parent signatures that are necessary on the documentation that you have that enables youth to participate, including waivers for photo participation and for those who are under the age of 18, the EEO waiver as well. And as you can see, some of the examples for guidelines or mutual responsibilities for parents could include attending the meetings, volunteering on an annual basis, and especially participation in the decision-making as it relates to the education of YCC students.
Annette, can we stop right here to see how we did with the polling question?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so let's see if we could share our results from the polling question. Does your program already have a parent engagement guidelines, and if your program does have written guidelines, does it include participation or attendance expectations? So, Angela, can we get that up? Okay, so we found out that out of the 17 people who participated in the poll, a little bit less than half have actually written parental guidelines, and 4 of those out of the 5 have expectations. So I guess grantees, we want to keep that in our pocket as we think forward with the rest of this training. If you need assistance with a parent guidelines or looking at those, I know Patty has shared some with us, and we're going to talk about hers shortly. We may want to look at ways so we can help support you all in developing those guidelines. So thanks so much, Angela, and you continue, Patty. Excuse me, Annette. Thank you.
Okay. So next we're going to talk about how best to create effective parent meetings. And a lot of what you all do, you all already realize that it's based on how effective or consistent your relationship is with parent or guardians. And again, as Maisha explained, parent and families is very broad, but it's really based on relationships. So it's important that as you implement any kind of initiative, including engagement meetings, that there is a intention and priority to make sure you get to know the parents so that you understand their needs, and ultimately, based on those needs, you can plan your parent meetings most effectively. If your program has the resources for someone who's paid or even a volunteer to become a parent engagement coordinator, this would be helpful as it provides a point person for parents to contact and most likely could increase not only timely communication but participation by your parents. And the parent engagement coordinator could also distribute short surveys from time to time to really solicit the feedback from parents about their preferences, not only when the best times it is for them to meet, but for various other reasons as well. So if you have the means and have the opportunity to have a key person on your staff to act as parent engagement coordinator, it could go a long way in making sure that your engagement strategy is most effective. So in order to increase participation and attendance, as you will see from slide 10 here, these are some examples that you can really take in consideration as you begin to plan your meetings. For example, being considerate of the meeting times and location, making sure that they are flexible and they accommodate the schedules of busy parents and transportation requirements. Not all parents have their own private transportation, so it's important that also that your meeting locations may be accessible to public transportation. And if possible, providing tokens or bus fare for parents to get to and from the meetings would be another opportunity. For parents who are limited English-speaking parents and or hard of hearing or deaf, providing interpreters or sign language professionals are also very useful. Free parking is always a good sell for anybody, let alone parents. I know I get excited when I go to a meeting and I don't have to pay $20 or more for parking. So, and also if you can conduct meetings in a centrally located facility so that it makes it even more accessible to parents who are traveling by public transportation. People flock to where there is food, so providing light, healthy refreshments would present a great opportunity not only to meet an obvious need for parents and their children because they're likely bringing their children with them, but it's an opportunity to really promote health and nutrition. And of course, these healthy snacks would have to be paid for through donations or other partner resources. And lastly, volunteers. If you can solicit and train up older YCC youth to be able to provide the activities for children, because sometimes parents have not only the students who are participating, but younger kids. So providing tutoring and games and other child care activities that keeps them involved in learning as well is also key. In addition to those items, it would be helpful to identify a leader within your, or leaders within your parent group to co-facilitate parent meetings with your YCC staff. I call them parent champions. They could not only be trained up to help facilitate your meetings, but they could also potentially become advocates for program awareness and promoting the benefits of the YCC programs to prospective partners, and that might result in additional resources to expand, so you never know. Parent meetings can also be a forum for updating key stakeholders so that you have your parents there who could speak verbatim on the benefits that they are receiving, but students could also be present. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be a program staff, a YCC program staff that is providing that information, and that would be also great for increasing the awareness about your program. Some examples of what your agenda could include that is co-planned with your parents could include not only the providing program updates, but successes and challenges, and soliciting the feedback to overcome those challenges, information about your school district, and especially how the YCC program outcomes align with your school district academic agenda. That's also a good way to, you already are in your school districts, but to continue to sustain your program by communicating just how what you're doing heavily aligns with the school district overall. In addition, your agenda could include a list of guest speakers and information about resources for your parents, based on your parent needs, resources that are relevant to them. And we'll talk about some of those examples a little bit later. So to ensure meetings run effectively, I spoke a little bit about training up your parents to co-facilitate. It's important to provide that training so that your meetings run efficiently, they start and end on time as well, and they are able to stay on topic. In addition to your monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly parent meetings, however you see best to plan them, special events is a different type of a meeting that does not focus on a standard agenda, but in fact it's really to recognize your students, your parents, your stakeholders. Is also a good event to host community service days or college and employment fairs, student competitions, among other things. So this is a short list of examples, but you could maybe have one special event per year because, you know, in combination with your parent meetings, it gets a little busy, but you can have a special event a year to highlight different things, not only from a student perspective, but from a parent and stakeholder perspective as well. And all of this creates more awareness about your program that could reap positive benefits in the long run. Okay, and we're to a polling question. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, how would you rate your parent participation and attendance at meetings? Okay, and as you take time to answer that polling question, I'll continue to talk about the importance of training your parents and connecting them to resources. Sharing YCC program information, success stories, and relevant changes should be a standard agenda item and topic of discussion. But in addition to that, YCC parents should be accustomed to gaining information that they may not already be aware of. And so based on your parent needs, you could provide information about human services and mental wellness, employment and employability services, how to write resumes or services to brush their skills up in terms of interviewing for jobs. They should be aware of their one-stop center services and where that's located so that they can access labor market information and where the industry is going in terms of jobs that they may need to brush up their skill set or increase their level of skill set in order to apply. In addition to that, providing information, especially for older YCC youth, about the college admissions process, including all types of information about tuition aid and the free application for the FAFSA. That acronym is hard to say, so I just say free application for federal student aid. All of that is very relevant to parents, and with their busy schedules, it makes it much easier for them having to come through one door to get this type of information versus having to go through all of these doors to gain that same information. Do we want to stop and check on the poll? Do you want me to keep going?
I was gonna say let's stop here and check on our poll to see how we are doing, to see how we rated on a scale of 1 to 5, parent engagement. And it looks like out of the 14 folks that took the survey, that 4 people are saying that it's either medium participation or very, very low participation. And so we look like we have a large range of responses to that question. So we don't have one weighing either side. So interesting responses.
So opportunity. There's some opportunity.
Opportunity, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So in addition, equally important to providing some of the resources that I mentioned in the previous slide to parents is, not only resources, but all types of pertinent information available that may be within the program, outside of the program, within the district, or outside of the district as well, just community resources. Training parents with tools to be full and active partners and advocates could also be provided by educating them about how program outcomes, again, align with the school district's academic agenda. And that's worth repeating because when they go in front of a board of education or the local PTAs or even within their churches, they need to be able to articulate very clearly that alignment. And in addition to that, just the strong benefits of what their students will be prepared to do post-high school and how it's preparing them for not only post-secondary education, but for the world of work as well. So it's important to educate them not only about the alignment here, but in all the other ways that they can, that would be useful for them to be able to communicate to your stakeholders. The next slide includes some additional examples of what you can include on your meeting agendas in terms of resources as well. Anything about adult education. You could also host information sessions that prepare parents and students for transitioning out of one school and into the next, or from high school to college or post-secondary, preparing them for post-secondary life. And example, if your student is moving from 8th grade to 9th grade, that is a huge transition, so helping parents prepare for that and students feel less anxious about that is important. You could also provide informational training about positive youth development, how they can be active participants at home, from doing simple things as eating together every day and asking more questions to get feedback from their students and letting their students take the lead and discussing things that matter to them, allowing their youth to make joint decisions versus having decisions made for them. Those are just some ways that they can participate in positive youth development outside of school, at home, and in the community. You can also consider having parent or teacher-led workshops that have specific topics, such as how to help with homework or education for students with educational disabilities, the resources, and really how to help at home to deal with those disabilities. So those are examples. I'm sure you have others. The next topic we'll talk about is communication tools and strategies. So it's important to create that consistency with your parents so that they grow to expect certain things and a certain time frame, so that it becomes more of a habit. The level of participation just becomes a habit for them. And so it's important to develop a communication system that is specific to meet their needs. So if they use phone only, then you know that's the communication strategy for those group of parents who just use landlines. If they are a little bit more technologically savvy, then texting and social media, using all of those ways to make sure that you're communicating with your parents. And it always will be important to always have face-to-face meetings, so it's more personal. And parents sometimes will allow the flexibility for you to make those face-to-face meetings at the work sites, but it just depends on the parent preferences. In addition, creating an ongoing system, monthly, quarterly, or annually, to ensure parent contact information is up to date, so there's no break in the flow of communication. And I know sometimes it's hard to keep track of the changing phone numbers and addresses of parents who may be a little bit more transient than others. When necessary, assist parents with accessing school newsletters on their websites, web pages, blogs, monthly calendar events. I wouldn't assume that all parents know how to access these resources on the school, and I wouldn't assume parents don't know. So just providing that consistent information, encouraging them to use it is important, because obviously there's relevant information about things for their student on the school district website. In addition, offering materials in multiple languages, like English or Spanish or Chinese, just considering the population of your parents and making sure that they have access to understanding fully about program and ways that they can be engaged, because materials are written in the language that they speak most. Establish a system for delivering newsletters about program performance. I'm not sure if your program already has a newsletter, but it'd be worthwhile, just a one-pager or two-pager front and back, That includes pertinent information, upcoming dates, either about your program or about the school district, highlighting parents, a little, tips and recommendations from parents. Any of your parent representatives, you could announce their names or maybe show their faces, anything that to help increase your communication and engagement is important. And then make contact with parents and families prior to the beginning of the school year and at the end of the school year. And, that summer gap, sometimes you lose students and sometimes you lose parents. So being very consistent year-round to communicate with them is important. Embracing technology, again, using email, text, tweets, Twitter, Facebook, the school website. All of those means are effective ways to increase your level of engagement. Okay, a couple of these questions will require you to kind of type or chat. And so Angela has put up the question in a place for you to type your answers in. What types of obstacles have you experienced with parent engagement? And what types of strategies have you implemented to overcome those obstacles? And as you think about that and formulate your comments, I'm going to continue and move right into obstacles and strategies. And as Maisha mentioned earlier, I did attend the parent conference some months ago, so the majority of what you'll see here came from the feedback during that parent breakout session. One of the obstacles that I heard during the session including getting parents to attend meetings, and so this is all relevant. And I won't be redundant about other things that we've already talked about, but some of the strategies you'll see here is, again, some of the things we talked about. Surveying your parents to understand their preferences, making home visits, and providing activities for their children. In terms of getting parent signatures, that was also an obstacle. Using waivers and delivering and collecting forms during home visits or worksite visits. You can also piggyback on school events. A lot of parents will attend sporting events and different events at open houses and things of that nature, so you could set up a table during those same events so the parents are not having to come to two events, you're just piggybacking on some events that are taking place already. Keeping current and accurate parent contact information. You can make it a standard for your staff to make annual or quarterly calls just specific to update parent contact information because they may change. You can send text messages. For example, Remind 101, requesting parents to submit and or verify their contact information. And then lastly, communicating pertinent program information. Again, I think it's important that you solicit and just see, based on the level of participation of your parents, who would rise to the top as a parent champion to act as a liaison between the program staff and parents. If you identify that champion, that would help the parent engagement coordinator, per se, create the level of communication and engagement that is consistent, that is sustainable, and that continues to grow. So before I turn it back over to Maisha, let's talk about what some of your responses were from those two questions.
So let's see, we're going to get the results up now and see what folks typed in. And I think we need to progress the slides too more to share those obstacles and strategies, but after we do this here. So so we have lack of transportation, scheduling, of course, being one of them. We talked about that earlier. Parent participation industry is not positive. I wonder what that means. I wonder whoever typed that can give us some more in there in the Q&A section. Bad email address and the phone numbers. I mean, contacting, as Annette just brought up, you know, some of our parents are very transient. Sometimes their handwriting is just, we can't ever read their handwriting, so we're trying to contact them. Non-responsive, of course, is a key piece that we have here, right? And making sure that we communicate. You know, it's so interesting when, of course, we all remember being students, right? We told our parents one thing, but the teacher said another thing. Having that concise communication between parent and student, maybe that comes down to making sure they get the same information at the same time. Not all parents are accessible. We know that. And lack of responses. I think that's something we just heard earlier. So those tend to be obstacles. Let's look at some of these strategies. I'm scrolling down and look at some of the strategies here. You know, we just talked to them on the phone. I think the phone, sometimes we forget about the phone calls. We're such a text messaging and social media society, we forget about the phone, but just doing the phone. Or somebody said snail mail, right? The mail, the regular mail, sending out postage stamps, spending a little bit of time and money there. Doing a parent night at a local industry. And when you say local industry, I don't know if that means the employer's location, which I think you're trying to say here, to include a tour, which is awesome. I like that idea. Looking for a parent liaison, which is great. We know that Puerto Rico did that successfully, procuring funds from their state to actually hire somebody part-time to be a parent liaison who is actually a parent. Actually, they have 3 of them. Mass text messaging, which is we just talked about through Remind 101, other tools. Parent nights. We use MailChimp here at Department of Labor when we send you out your newsletters. So, you know, we know that's effective. And again, just hitting them up, different types of vehicles, right? Whether it's email, text messaging, or mail. And just meeting with students to stress the importance of, you know, the meetings and having their parents involved. So this is great. So it's great to have your feedback there. And I think what I'm going to do before I pass it to Patty, can I get the lead on the ball, Angela, please? The lead on the progression of slides. Thank you so much. One thing that we were just talking about that Annette just went through, and Annette, you can speak me through these. We were talking about the obstacles. I want to share with folks that these slides are here for you, and we also have the slides available on our community of practice. Angela sent those out earlier, so you have them. Talking about getting the parents to the meeting, getting signatures. I want to emphasize right here, as a lead office, again, if your young person is under the age of 18, you definitely want to get a signature on at least a parent consent form. We talked about that when we talked about the participant file and making sure that parents know that they are that they know what their students are doing. I have a question. Okay, thank you so much, Angela. Also, let me go to the next slide before I answer that question. Also, keeping current information. We already talked about that. And then, you know, communicating. How do we communicate? Sometimes we got to do all 3. You know, we got to do the snail mail, the text message, the social media, all that good stuff. So I do have a question on the floor from Jennifer. And let me read this question real quick. The parents' perception of industry sector of our training program has not been positive. Oh, interesting. They perceive factory work as dirty and do not want their children to be stuck in the factory. They don't realize the technological advances in manufacturing and its opportunities in the industry. Now, you know, Jennifer, thank you for that. I think that was brought up during our conference as well. A lot of times our parents are not educated on the 2-year community college. They're not educated on apprenticeship. They're not educated on what used to be considered a blue-collar work that's still very relevant today and has totally advanced. And people are making more money leaving out of a 2-year program or apprenticeship than they are a 4-year college. And we have the data and statistics on some of those resources about some of those types of jobs. So I think you're absolutely right. Educating our parents on other opportunities. I think the word that we used during our session was other pathways, and that's the word that we use here at Labor. Looking at not every student is a 4-year student. Not every student is a 2-year student. Some students learn differently. A lot of times parents do feel like they failed or their students failed, their child failed, if they don't go to a 4-year school, if they don't do certain types of jobs. And we want to share with them all the advances in the different pathways in the different industry sectors. So I love that idea about having them do a tour of our employer partners venues and letting them share with them, you know, the advances in these areas in science, technology, engineering, and math, and looking at how we can link our students to them. Now, we know a lot of our young people will not go directly into those fields that we're preparing them for, or sharing the information for, but the life lessons that they learn in our classrooms as far as timeliness and precision and rereading and reading things over again and measurement is very important. So, Jennifer, thank you for sharing that. And we can unmute people if you want to. So, Angela, how do you want them to do that? Okay, Angela's walking over. So if you want to raise your hand, Angela's pointing to me. You can raise your hand, and Angela can unmute you if you want to discuss a little bit further. If you don't want to write your question into the Q&A section, we can answer verbally as well. Annette, do you have anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, just one comment about the obstacles and strategies here. This is an abbreviated list. There were 7 obstacles, and I didn't include all the strategies underneath the 4 that's included here. So if anybody wants to see the full list, it's available to them as well.
Yes, and I know, Annette, as I was sharing with everybody, Annette is putting together a very powerful resource for us, and it's not quite ready for you all. And I know Annette goes into really great detail. When that is ready, you'll have that information as well, right, Annette? That's correct? Did I lose Annette? Am I still talking? I'm sure I am. Okay. I may have lost Annette, but I'm going to actually move forward. Any other questions? You guys can type it in. What I would love to do right now, as you all know, we always try to get a grantee to present, to share what they're doing that's working well in the field for all of our trainings. And we have the pleasure of introducing or having with us Patty. Many of you have met Patty before. From Tennessee, from Bradley County. And, you know, just a heads up, you know, if there is a topic that you want to share your best practices or even your challenges with the rest of the grantees, please let us know. Send us an email or put it in the comment section, because we always want to invite you all to present what you're doing there at the grants, because you guys are doing the work on the ground. So, Patty, can you talk?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much.
And you have the ball right now, so you can progress your own slides.
I can? Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate being invited to participate today. And just to tell you a little bit about me, I think it might be helpful. I was a school secretary for 10 years before I finished my degree and went to the classroom. And I moved into a job at Bradley County Schools as a business teacher in their career and technical education department, and I taught there for 5 years before working on grant writing for the district. And I came to central office at the end of 7 years, actually, and began doing some grant writing for our district, and we received a smaller learning communities grant, one of the last rounds that was awarded, and so I became a project manager on that particular grant, and since then I have been project manager on 3 federal grants that we have in our district. So I've kind of come a lot of different ways to do what I'm doing today, and I love the work. I love working with children and seeing them become successful, and I think my own life really is an example of how you don't have to, it's not a cookie cutter. There are a lot of different ways you can reach your goals in life, and so you have to look at the things that you're presented that way. So anyway, moving along to kind of talk a little bit about our grant program, which we call Pathways Bradley. And if you want to know where we're located, it's in southeast Tennessee in a little town called Cleveland. There's a Cleveland in every state, I think. And we're about 25 miles north of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and about 90 miles south of Knoxville. So that'll kind of give you a geographic picture of where we're located. We're very fortunate in our community. We have a lot of businesses in our community, and they're wonderful partners with us in our grant program. But today we're here to talk about parents and parent meetings and how do we get our parents out. And I want you to know that we have the same challenges that everyone has. And it was kind of funny when I looked at the poll about parent participation in our meetings, we were from one extreme to the other. We have had very poor attendance at parent meetings before, and we have had very good attendance at at parent meetings. Not perfect, but good attendance. And so I think that we are figuring some things out, but we wouldn't say that we had the all in all. But last year we had one parent meeting, and this year we decided that we have back. And then we're doing another parent meeting in January with our parents. Our county has 2 large high schools. Each school has about between 15 to 1,800 students, and those are the 2 schools that our Youth CareerConnect grant, where our cohort is located. In our parent meeting that we planned for this fall, we used several methods to communicate to parents. We mailed out invitations and letters, letting them know what the meeting was going to be, where it was going to be, the time, and so forth. And what we decided to do was have the same meeting a week apart, so that if this week wasn't good for you, you could come the next week to the meeting. So we gave parents 2 alternatives for the meeting so that they could get the same information, because we were going to distribute our one-to-one devices, our Dell Venues, to our students at that meeting. So number one, it was important that parents be there. They were not going to be able to, the students would not receive their venue unless the parent was present. So that was a huge incentive for our kids to be there and their parents to be with them. So in planning the meeting, we sat down and thought about, what information can we provide our parents that's going to be meaningful to them? And so during that meeting, this was really the agenda that we came up with, because we had new parents to the program coming to a meeting, and we had parents of students that had come last year. So we wanted to give a little background, the history and the purpose of our grant program, Pathways Bradley. And we had several forms that we wanted them to fill out, because we all know signatures are required on several things. And these were a part of your handouts for today's webinar. Please believe me, they're not the all-in-all, but I sent them in Word format so that you can take them and you can readjust or do whatever you might like to with them in order perhaps they could be a help to you. So we had several forms. We had the program consent form for students that were new to the program this year. We had a photographic consent form. We had a general information sheet, and then we had our venue form and a guidelines handbook for the student and parent that we wanted to distribute. So we wanted to make sure we had those ready and available to the parents that night. In addition, we wanted all of our Dell Venues there and ready, and have a smooth checkout procedure in place, so that as the students left, they could turn in their forms, have their venue form signed in front of a notary, and be able to give them their venue as they walked out the door. The second thing we decided we wanted to do is talk about plans for the year. What's coming up for their students? What kinds of things can they be involved in? What are the advantages to being in this program for their student? So you can see the different things that we talked about there. And then we wanted to talk about communication. How can we communicate with you best? And for that, we decided to use remind.com, of which the name has changed a little bit. And we had parents take out their cell phones and be prepared to text to Pathways Bradley and gave them the number. And we got parents connected and their students connected. Each of them had a different, basically, a number to text to, so that we would be able to keep in touch with them. And then the last thing we wanted to be able to do is distribute the venues and talk about the importance of those and get their signatures. So how did we get in touch with them? Well, we mailed invitations to them. We had a meeting with our students and talked about them and the importance of it, showing them the venues that they were going to receive at the parent meeting if their parents came that night with them. Then we talked to them. Then we also had a calling system that we use in our school system and we have a group organized as the YCC cohort, so that we can send calls out only to those households. So that was our advanced communication to give them the information about the meeting. Of course, then we had that meeting that night, and I've kind of gone over the agenda, but a couple of things I want to point out to you that we did is we wanted to make sure everybody affiliated with the program had an opportunity to speak and share a part of the program so that parents would begin relating faces and names together. So I was the person that did the welcome. I did the opening and the closing, basically. Each of our schools has a career coach that we have employed through our Pathways Bradley program. So we wanted to be sure that the career coach for that particular school, that meeting night, was a part of the program, and so that the parents would know who they were, have their contact information, be able to begin putting that face and name together. And then we also have employed a work-based learning coordinator for the district that works with both high schools in helping us recruit mentors, organizing field trips to our businesses, developing internships for students and opportunities like that, and doing a variety of things. So we wanted her to have an opportunity. So getting your people in front of the parents so that they can start connecting that face and name together. In terms of our plans for the year, one of the things we did, and I really thought about it during the last comments that were being made, but I thought I'd just save it till now. Our parents, too, have that perception that industry is dirty. Industry is not something they want their student. Our student isn't successful if they're going and working in a plant. Well, we have to educate our parents on that is not what the plants in our area are today. They've changed since dad or granddad worked in that particular industry. So we had a pilot internship that took place at one of our local businesses, Cormatech, and they are an international business, and they use a lot of robotics. They have an extremely clean plant, and we were able to place interns there from both of our high school last year. These were paid internships. Those students earned $11.50 an hour. They started out like at $9.50, and they were able to get raises along the way until they were making $11.50 per hour. So we did for want of a better term, a promotional video. And we had a videographer come in, and they interviewed the plant manager and the two students that participated in the internship. And the students were able to share what they learned in school that they were able to apply in their internship. It showed the plant in operation. The plant manager talked about what an incredible place it was to work, and at the end the students talked about the value of the internship and being able to work in there, and how that Cormatech wants them to come back and work for them, and how Cormatech can help pay for their further training, whether it's the a two-year degree from a local community college or a technical school, or going on to 4-year. I think the video is a really strong way to be able to show your parents what they can't see by just hearing and you talking to them. So we have been able to use video as a real successful tool. Our parents are really excited about their students having those opportunities. Remind.com, I've got a slide on here, and I'm going to go to it right now and just show you, this is their website. And when you go to Remind.com, it is a very simple process to sign up for that. And during your parent meeting, if you have all that set up before your meeting with your parents, you can just have them pull out that cell phone and type in the number and the message, and they're automatically connected. I'm going to go on and talk to you a little bit about our one-to-one technology that we did in terms of the Dell Venues. We had purchased these for our students. We're in the process of developing career portfolios and some things that our students are using their technology to be able to produce. But one of the things that we distributed our technology. Everyone was very excited to receive that evening. We had about 2/3 of our parents, between the two back-to-back meetings, each one a week apart, we had about 2/3 of our parents and students attend those meetings, which we thought was really great because we've had very poor attendance at times. So this has been a really, distributing the venues was a big piece, but we talked to the parents about what the requirements were going to be for the future and things that we wanted them involved in and so forth, and I think we had a lot of really great response to that. But going back to Remind and to our venues, after our students had our venues for a few days, we got this message. Students were coming in and telling us that they were having difficulty logging on at home. They could log on at school, but they couldn't log on at home. And of course, that was not the intent, that they just be able to log on at school. This is a device to be used for all of their classes and for being able to do things at home that perhaps they didn't have time to do in class and so forth. So by doing the remind.com and those text messaging at the parent meeting, we were able to push out messages to our parents of, you know, we're having difficulty with our venues for students to log on at home. We understand this. We're working on a solution, and we will be sending you out a message about that as soon as the problem is resolved. And I think this did a lot to help us cut down on parents being upset and concerned about it. Then when we got the solution, we were able to push that out and say, we've worked on the solution, students are going to be able to log on at home from now on, and it's really enabled us to develop a communication to push out information to our parents in a very simple way and a way that they are connecting with. The last thing I want to really talk about is other ways that we are working on in our district to get the word out. We are developing a Pathways Bradley website, which should be up shortly after fall break, which is next week for us. And on that, of course, we have got our Twitter feed, our Facebook feed, and our Instagram feed are all connected there. We're going to be able to use Remind.com to push this information out to parents, say, hey, our website's up, this is where you can connect. And so we're very excited about that. We had we had someone come in and work with us on how to develop a social media strategy for our program, and we're already using that in other parts of our district. But we learned about Hootsuite, which many of you may know, and there are other ways to do this, but one of our concerns was how do we schedule messages going out so that we don't have to think about it all the time. Well, on Hootsuite, you can schedule your messages to go out a certain time. You can make sure your messages are what you want to say. You can send them out on Twitter, Instagram, and then you can post to Facebook. So Hootsuite is kind of a management system that you can use for your social media. And I wouldn't call myself the all-in-all in terms of knowledge on it. I'm learning a lot of things, but this is helping us to be consistent with our messaging. We've also created a Twitter account and an Instagram account that we're pushing out to our parents. And another way is through that Remind.com. We already have a great way to push that information out to our parents. And, of course, then there's Facebook. And we're just getting in baby steps in our Facebook page, but it is another way to get the information out. We find in our district our parents are connected to Facebook more than our students are. Our students are connected more to Instagram, and really Twitter is a big thing in our district for our parents. So kind of trying to do some research and find out what's working in your district or what works overall with social media. There are strategies about what days to send information out and so forth that you can look at. So I would just recommend using a lot of social media because I really think that's helping us get the word out to our parents. We're planning our next parent meeting. We're going to have a parent meeting at each school again in January. And one of the things we're discussing are some of the things that we're going to be doing for our YCC graduates, our Pathways Bradley graduates, and an incentive to retain students in the program. And it's an incentive to parents because all parents want their students to succeed and to do well in school. And so we're considering doing a cord for Pathways Bradley graduates at graduation, and I think that's going to be very well received. Our kids in our area really love to have cords to wear at graduation. It's become a really big thing in our area, so we're planning on developing a cord for graduation for our Pathways Bradley students. So that's pretty much kind of the all in all of what we're doing right now. We are certainly don't have it all under control, but these things are being successful for us right now, and I hope it's been a help to some of you.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Patty. That was, I'm learning stuff, you know, I don't think I'm that seasoned in my age, but I'm learning stuff right now about Hootsuite. I never heard of it before. So thank you for sharing that with us. Again, colleagues, if you have any questions, please put them into the Q&A session. If you want to share anything, you can raise your hands. Patty and that were great today. We do have some resources here for you all. And again, you have copies of these on your PowerPoint slides through our community of practice. Please make sure you check these out, and they're going to be able to help you. And somebody wants to speak? Annette? Okay, I hear somebody in the background. I don't know if it's Patty or Annette. Also, what I would like to make sure that we share with you all is the fact that when we wrap up here today, an evaluation is going to come directly on your screen. So please make sure that you take that evaluation ASAP. It's very important for us to know what you need for TA, how we're doing, how this was delivered, what you learned today. And so please, 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 when you shut this all down, an evaluation is going to come up immediately. Please take some time to take that. Any comments, any questions, did we do a good job today? I want to thank again Annette for her time. I want to thank Patty for your time. We have some upcoming trainings coming from employer engagement coming up shortly, as well as marketing. And, of course, we want to keep you guys alerted that we are going to have our conference again here in D.C. in July. We don't have set dates yet. We're working on our approval process here. So please make sure that you keep your eyes open for any information on that. Annette and Patty, thanks again. I really appreciate it. And I learned so much today, and we're looking forward to Annette's a brief that she's going to put together for us. And Patty, awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your challenges and your strengths with us regarding parent engagement. Any other questions for us? I don't see any questions coming in. I think people are starting to log off. But again, you will be receiving the information and the recording of this webinar in about a week or two. We are working on that and you know where to contact us if you need us for anything. If you want to share with us your parent strategies or guidelines and want to send it to the email account, we can take those and put those on our community of practice so we can share with each other what we're all doing and see if you want to borrow from somebody's and create your own. So please, by all means, keep us posted on what you're doing for parent engagement. Send us pictures. We get some pictures. We get pictures from folks all the time regarding what they're doing to engage students and parents. So please keep us posted. And I know Anson County just had a paper article that had Jennifer Troke, our national, our office director here. So thank you for that, Anson County. We appreciate it. That was a great tribute to the conference and what you all learned there, so we appreciate it. So I'm going to be signing off shortly, and please if you have any comments, keep typing them in, but thanks so much for your time today. We went over 4 minutes, so we'll see you guys next time.